Welcome to Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails, inviting you to join the fight to end human trafficking.
Oh, give me eyes to see. Oh, give me strength to lead. You give me all I need. So give me courage to believe.
Each week, Abolition Radio sheds light on the darkness of modern slavery, celebrates the work of abolitionists who are fighting for freedom, and equips the church to engage in the work of justice with hope rooted in God's Word. Our goal is to see a radio audience become an army of gospel activists.
You're in the neighborhoods we live in. You're in the ones we're passing by. You're in the ones we call our neighbors. And the ones who still escape our eyes.
Now here's the host of Abolition Radio, founder and executive director of Love Never Fails, Vanessa Scott.
Thank you for joining us for another edition of Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. We have an exciting day planned for you here in the studio. Yeah. We've got, of course, the lovely Miss Vanita Hopkins, who is my co-host and also our director of Love Never Fails Education.
Hello, Vanessa.
Hi.
How are you?
Great. And also, we're in for a treat. We have 3 guests here in the studio with us today. We have Erica Mapp. Are you out there, Erica?
I am. Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Erica.
And we have Regina Evans.
Hello.
And we have Serena Martinez Coleman.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so I had to pause a little bit because Serena has recently become married, so we've got a little hyphen in there. Yeah. But we're just so grateful to have everybody here today. We're going to be talking about something that I think is it's very important as we talk about the healing of human trafficking survivors or thriving survivors, as we've said. We find that there is something that happens when we infuse art into the work that we're doing. And I think you heard when we talked a little bit, maybe a couple of shows ago, we talked about our Love Don't Hurt education program. And one of the ways that we relate to the young people is through art.
Yes.
Is by doing plays.
Drama,
skits, songs, raps, and poetry. Yeah. So, and then certainly the sort of the core of Love Never Fails, or where, we were birthed from praise dance, right? I mean, that's right. And so that artistic place where that young people are often drawn to, and quite frankly is used actually to draw them into things that aren't so good.
Right.
Can be used as a way to heal them and to pull them in. So the reason we have Erica and Regina and Serena here is that they're just bursting with artistic abilities, and they're super talented, and then of course they have this draw that from young people in their midst and people that are hurting in their midst, that are experiencing healing by hearing their words, by experiencing their art form, and by speaking with them in the case of Serena, by doing some clinical work that is also artistic in nature. Yeah. So we're going to hear about that, because I know there are people out there that are saying, hey, I'm artistic, I'm crafty, what can I do to contribute? Or, I just know how to sing, or I know how to paint. How can that play a role in the fight against human trafficking?
Vanessa, it's interesting you say that, because just recently I visited or attended a training on drama therapy and how it can be used in trauma situations, and how even as a service provider or a clinician, you can use the arts to really reach, like you're saying, to really reach someone who's been abused. That correlation, that connection that you can make, feeling what they feel.
Yeah.
Putting yourself in the place with them.
Yeah.
To experience it and really experience it for yourself, what a victim may be experiencing. It's really powerful.
Yeah.
Really, really powerful. And it's in this particular workshop, it was really hard to shake, the emotion that I had to portray in that class.
Yeah, it brings up some feelings, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just getting this visual. Okay, and I'm really a art cookie kind of person. So as you were speaking, I got this visual of a survivor putting her hands on a paintbrush and then another person putting their hand on top of their that hand and them painting a picture together. What would that feel like if you let a survivor lead you in the strokes on the canvas?
Yes.
Right? I don't know. Just
and that class, that's what it was about.
Yeah.
Allowing your emotions to go there. Now, yes, we spoke of triggers and things like that. And we had, were given permission to deal with it. There were many clinicians in the room, but it was really powerful.
And that
really
was
powerful.
put on by Missy, right?
That was put on by Missy,
Hi.
yes, and their executive director.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Aisha. How are you? Okay. Well, I wanted to just give our guest a moment to kind of talk a little bit more about who they are and what their passion is in this fight against human trafficking, and then, of course, how they are currently using art to not only heal others, but also to receive healing for themselves. So, Erica, just a few thoughts from you and maybe an introduction about, why you are so, feel so strongly about this fight against human trafficking.
Okay. Well, my name is Erica Rapp, as previously stated. I'm a survivor, thriving in my life now. I was exploited at the age of 14, and that's why it's really important to me to be able to have my voice heard, to be able to speak to those at risk and those that are currently being exploited. Not only to, well, of course, the main goal is to draw them out and have them living the life that that God prepared for them, but also to show them an example of what is possible.
Right.
So, even though my childhood was destroyed, as a woman, I'm able to not only heal, but as it's been said many times, to thrive in my life. I'm a single mother. I'm a full-time student. I'm a full-time employee. And I'm flourishing. And to be able to show that example, that you can succeed. Important. You can come out on the other side and still lead a happy, productive, love-filled life. And really, that's all any of us really want, is to be happy and to experience love. So if I can be that example for somebody, or to help guide them to that end result, then, I feel like I've done my job and completed my calling. So as far as writing to heal, ever since I was a child, I tend to write when I'm in pain.
Journaling, yeah. So I think you've actually written a piece that you are going to be sharing with us a little bit later about something it's really been actually a difficult time for all of us here at Love Never Fails. And I personally received a lot of encouragement and healing from hearing your writing about this situation that we'll be talking about here in the next segment. But before we get into that, I would like to just to give Regina and Serena an opportunity to introduce themselves and to and we'll have them come back in a later segment to tell you a little bit more about what they're doing in the fight against human trafficking.
Great.
So, Regina, maybe you can just tell the listeners why are you passionate about human trafficking, and then, of course, we'll bring you back to talk more about Regina's Door and all of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a survivor, and so my first passion comes from that and wanting to help others to heal.
Yeah.
And to not particularly experience because I experienced a lot of trauma during my healing. And so what I try to do is, to me, it's sacrificial love is healing. And so I try to, whatever I do, I try to do it from that bent. Sometimes I fail, sometimes I make it, but that, to me, is the root of everything. And for me, because I'm a poet, my healing comes from that. It comes from letters. And so everything that I do is from that standpoint. And I remember as I was trying to figure out why was poetry so healing and so powerful for me, I came across a verse, which the Lord just reminded me. I'm just want to read it quickly. It's out of John 6. And so it kind of put like a stamp on why letters are powerful for me. And it simply says, the Holy Spirit gives life. The body means nothing at all. The words I have spoken to you are from the Spirit. They give life.
That's powerful.
And so when I read that, I was like, oh, I get it now.
Words give life.
The words give life.
That's great.
The letters, the words, they all have that power in them. And so the healing comes from that.
Wow.
Awesome.
And so that's the foundation of everything that I do.
Awesome. Yes. Woo!
Words
Okay.
give life.
So I don't want to rush Serena. So you're in for a treat. So come on back here in just a few minutes. We're going to hear from Serena a little bit about who she is. And then again, we're going to pull Regina and Erica in. And I'd like to invite them to actually share some of those words that heal. So we'll be right back with another session of Abolition Radio.
We'll be back with more Abolition Radio right after these messages.
This is Pastor Gary from Faith Fellowship in San Leandro. We are so excited about the launch of Abolition Radio every Saturday. And we have seen Love Never Fails under Vanessa Scott grow right here in San Leandro out of our church at Faith Fellowship. And now her ministry, God gave her a passion to get young people out of the sex trafficking and sex slave industry. And she has been doing a phenomenal job. Not only is it locally, but now it's going globally. In fact, I prophesied to her that God was going to use her to go nationwide, and that's exactly what's been happening. She is a woman with a vision, with a direction, and a passion to see these young people come out of this kind of arena. And to God be the glory. Join with her every Saturday on Abolition Radio to hear what she has to say and then become a part of what she's doing. AbolitionRadio.org. Love never fails.
Welcome back to Abolition Radio, where you are invited to join the fight against human trafficking.
And welcome back to Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. So when we went to break last time, we were just getting ready to hear from Serena Martinez Coleman. And so maybe you could start off by telling us, so how long has it been, Martinez Coleman? No, like, get right down to the nitty gritty here. No, but we at Love Never Fails, I was telling, just not to get too off track, but in the spirit of being creative. I was at dinner. I was at lunch yesterday, and I was talking to this beautiful young lady, and I have had a good run at matchmaking lately. And I decided that I'm going to start a Love Never Fails matchmaking service. No, I'm just kidding. But I was too late to the party. I can't take credit for Serena. So anyway, so tell us a little bit about you and your why you're in the fight against human trafficking.
Okay. Well, I'm not a survivor of trafficking. However, I'm a survivor of abuse in many different forms. And so as a child and growing up as a teenager, well, I used art a lot. And I had no idea I was doing art therapy myself. But I just knew that art was powerful. And so now as a marriage and family therapist intern and using art therapy techniques, I've realized how powerful art can be, and not just children, but teenagers and also adults as well.
Yes.
Especially with survivors, being a way to create a safe place for them to create art and express themselves is the most important thing, so that they feel safe and comfortable. And I think once that space is made, then they just, open up and share a lot. Yeah. And it is very powerful to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'm inclined to go that route. But I didn't. I love that you said I was using art therapy to help myself. I think I've done the same thing and without even knowing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay. Well, so we'll come back. I'd like to know more about the techniques that you're actually using, Serena. But Erica, if I'd love to hear more about. So you talked with us in the last segment about journaling and writing, and I actually had the privilege of reading some of your journals from your teenage years, and you were just an amazing writer at that time. and I've been kind of nudging you, keep writing. You're so good at it. And so
I don't know if it's not just so much as a kick.
A kick? I'm a good kicker, huh?
The dancer in you. Those kicks and turns.
Yeah. Oh, I love kicking you, Erica. But no, you're just so, such a blessing to me and so many others. And I want people to hear that gift that you have inside. And again, through it, I have received some healing, and I know that others will as well. So I know there's a piece that you've been working on. I don't believe it's quite done at this time, but yeah, maybe tell us a little bit about that.
So almost a year ago, on March 31st, 2014, I lost my son. My 17-year-old son passed away. And we had a very, very, very strong relationship. He was my first love. We grew up together because I had him young, and so we were very close. And it was really the light of my life, and was a devastating blow to, as you said, not only myself, but Vanessa and most of the Love Never Fails family, because he was also an advocate and a budding activist for the fight against human trafficking.
Yes, he was.
So he will be greatly missed, and was also, very much involved in trying to lead people to God. So, as Vanessa said, this piece is not complete. It was written mostly from the painful aspect of it, but now that I'm crossing over to the other side, to the healing side of it, to the beauty of what the whole experience has created in me, I'd like to finish it eventually, but it's just, finding the time, and I'm so accustomed to writing in pain, I don't know how to write in healing, which is something that I need to learn how to do. So before I read that, Regina reminded me of a scripture that ever since I got involved with Love Never Fails has applied to my life and also applies to this situation. It's Genesis 50:20. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good.
Amen.
To accomplish what is being done now, the saving of many lives.
Amen.
And that is across my entire life and has been for a few years now.
That's right.
So just bear with me. I've never done spoken word before, but it's something that I've always been interested in and have always written. So. I keep waiting to wake up to my tear-soaked pillow after yet another haunting tale told while I slept, a tale of pure, unconditional love carried away from me, ripped away much too soon. Love and light unlike anything I've ever known, stolen from me like a thief in the night. Now the darkness of his absence mocks me daily, threatening to consume every corner of my being. But he's with me still. Just as I'm about to break, he speaks to me, and I can hear his voice in the gentle wind. I can see his beauty and his light once again. And if I'm still long enough, the comfort and warmth of one of his love hugs is brought to my memory. It's a vivid memory that brings a smile to my face, but right behind the smile comes the wave of grief. Sadness so deep, I fear I may drown. Save me, O Lord. I am the Christian spirit. Though it is you who has crushed me, wrapped in darkness and confusion and longing days, lost in grieving, I cry out to you, Lord, and in the same breath, I curse your name. Armed with the wisdom that you alone have the power to heal me, but then again, you have the power to heal him as well. There is a war that rages inside of me, and darkness is winning. That light that you placed inside of me, the one that was burning for all to see, being choked out, snuffed out, left broken and bleeding, I long for your comfort, Lord. As I draw near to you, you will draw nearer to me. But what of those that are too weak to initiate? Draw me, Lord. Even as I am kicking and screaming, give me shelter in the arms of my Father. I need you to fight for me. Protect me from myself, Lord. I am my own worst enemy. Reach down into the absolute depths of my being and find that light once again. Carry it back to the surface. Let it illuminate from within for all to see. Cause me to stand as a testimony for those who will come after me, those who never knew you before such a tragic loss. I will do the bidding for you. Be able to glorify your name like a phoenix against the sun. Cause me to rise from the ashes of a grave built by the enemy to destroy me. That's all I have so far.
Beautiful.
Wow. I don't need to say there are cheers in the room. Wow. You're strong, Erica.
Very strong.
And thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for letting me share.
Yeah, I'm. It's just beautiful, and to see how far you've come, Erica. Yeah, Anthony would be very proud.
Yes, thank you.
So, this is, just kind of thinking about the emotion. Sometimes we're afraid of the feelings, we're afraid of the tears, but that's real living. It's real. It's in there, and I think it's important that we make room for it, and we make room for people to express their anger, their sadness, their joy,
their fears, their despair.
Yeah, and walk with them, arm in arm, until we get to the healing side, as Erica mentioned earlier, and the healing side is there. And we, all of us have come through it.
So glad to hear that you're getting there.
Yeah.
Erica.
Yeah.
In your own time. Nobody else's time. It's just a you and God time.
That's it. Yeah. That is it. Okay, well, we're going to take a break.
We need a break.
Yeah, we need a little break here. But we will come back here and hear some more from Regina and Serena. And we just appreciate you listening to Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails.
We'll be back with more Abolition Radio right after these messages from our sponsors.
Hi, this is Vanessa Scott with Abolition Radio, where every week we invite you to join the fight to bring an end to human trafficking. Abolition Radio is the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails, our nonprofit, which is dedicated to the rehabilitation, education, and protection of youth involved or at risk of becoming involved in domestic sex trafficking. Our goal with Abolition Radio is to eradicate human trafficking in all forms, sex trafficking and labor trafficking locally and globally. We are excited to bring this program to KFAX as we will share stories of hope and opportunities to mobilize the body of Christ and turn this audience into an army of gospel activists who will speak up for justice and act on behalf of those who are trapped or recovering from slavery. Find us on Facebook at Abolition Radio or on the web at abolitionradio.org and join me each Saturday at 3 p.m. for an exciting episode of Abolition Radio right here on AM 1100 KFAX.
Welcome back to Abolition Radio, where you are invited to join the fight against human trafficking.
And welcome back to Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. So we've gone ahead and we got ourselves together here. We pulled ourselves together. And we are going to hear a little bit about, I really want to hear from, again, Serena is first of all, she's awesome. And and I know Erica just finished saying how awesome she is as well. So we don't, she's like, I was like, how are you? She's like, I'm awesome. Yeah, so that's her catchphrase. But Serena, you are awesome too. And she's currently a clinical case manager, not just for C-sex, so commercially sexually exploited children, but also for adults that have chronic illnesses. And she's working with middle school students. So she's finding that, the use of art, again, in a variety of areas is useful for healing, right? So maybe you could tell us some more about, again, we heard why you got into this, but what are you doing with these different populations, and what are you finding, works, and where are your challenges? Just anything you can tell us about the use of art.
Sure, and so not just case management, but also a lot of therapy work. So I do a lot of group art therapy. And so right now, currently, what I'm doing with the girls that have been exploited and trafficked, we're doing a lot of art. I've learned that they AWOL quite often, and so I've had to kind of change my model so that it's brief therapy and client-centered approach. And so it's strength-based and trauma-informed practices that focus on empowerment and creative expression.
Yes.
So
Great.
we're doing a lot of artwork that kind of builds their self-esteem.
Yeah.
They're able to process things that have happened, but not to force them into retelling their story, because that has to be at their own time. I don't want it to be re-traumatizing for them. Right. So it's just kind of going with their flow, what they're open to sharing.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just a couple of words, terminology that I think people who are listening, because we're talking to people who are just everyday folks that want to learn how they can fight against this or how they can get involved. So trauma informed, that's a buzzword, that we're hearing quite a bit. Tell us, what does that mean?
Sure. So to use trauma informed care, there's a lot of things that go into it. And so, but you can always use trauma-informed practices.
Yes.
And so practices involve just being aware of things that might make the clients feel uncomfortable or they're sensitive to or trigger them. That's like a main thing, is recognizing triggers. Right. What do they have a tendency to shy away from? What are they able to express? And being really careful around things that could trigger them. And so there's a lot of different ways of trauma-informed, but just really making sure they feel comfortable and safe. Safety, again, is like the number one key.
Okay. So, one thing so after this recording, I'm going to be meeting with Erica, and we're going to be spending some time together and just kind of making sure she's okay. She has made a decision that she wanted to participate in today and share her poem or her spoken word. And so, as a clinical MFT or intern, what's your take on that whole process of sharing your truth and then post doing that? What are some of the things that
I think
recommend?
Being able to praise them for what they're able to share, because I think praise and acknowledgement of how courageous they are to share their stuff is huge.
Yeah.
And so to continue to give positive feedback about how awesome they are doing, because she was awesome in sharing that. So I think for anyone to share their story or to share a part that is really heartbreaking, but they're courageous enough to share it with others, is really powerful. Yes. And I think to acknowledge that is really big, but then also checking in with their feelings. Right. So how are they feeling after? How are they feeling during? If they want to share more of it later, what are some strategies and techniques that might help them calm down their anxiety or any other feelings that come up during the process of sharing? Yeah. And then afterwards, maybe they can create an art reflective piece of how it was to share, so they're able to let it go.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, so building in some self-care or
self-care is really important
afterwards. Like, I'm going to share this today, but then I'm going to go get a massage, or I'm going to go eat ice cream.
Frozen yogurt's my favorite. Yeah, definitely.
That's my self-help right there. Regina's shaking her head. Yeah, chocolate.
I had an advocate with me in the classroom, and had to make sure, just like you're saying, that everything was copacetic. After sharing, they were allowed to share their story and that type thing.
Yeah.
So it is very important.
When we bring thrivers into the classroom, we make sure that they have a debrief strategy set up afterwards. And, it's so important, right? We've got to take special care. So the other one that you said, strength-based. So tell us more about what that is, because it's a certain strategy I've found to be much more effective than always focusing on what's wrong.
Definitely. I think strength-based is one of the best strategies to use, especially with youth, especially people that have dealt with trauma, with any individual, to be honest. But strength-based is just focusing mostly on their strengths, trying to stay positive on the things that they're working on, and any tiny little step forward to praise and to give that recognition for, I think is really important. And to kind of keep encouraging. I think encouraging is a huge thing as well, to kind of help anyone move forward in their journey and their processing information, is encouraging them, but at their pace, and also focusing just everything positive and strength-based. But still being able to challenge them in a positive way, because you also want to challenge them to help them grow, but do it in a sensitive way.
Got you. So what's like an example? Let's say you had a client that, and what do you call your folks that you're meeting with? Do you call them
clients? But the girls the girls at the home, I just call them residents.
Residents, okay. I know Yvonne from Saffron Strand, she calls the people who come to her program members. I like that. But anyway, so when you are dealing with the residents, what's an example of an art therapy sort of activity that you might do? I'm just curious.
I have a lot of examples actually that we've done so far. So we've made T-shirts with positive images on them. They've had collages of goals for the room. Art journals are really big, so they can do that on their own as well. Listening to songs and lyrics and then creating art around that. Writing poetry, creating art for a poem. Coloring mandalas. So mandalas are really awesome in the fact that they help for relaxation. So using those techniques and dream boards. Right now we're currently creating a soundtrack of their life. So they create music, about 10 to 12 songs that they really enjoy, and then they create an album cover.
Oh, an album cover. Oh, that's cool.
And I'm about the music.
Oh, yeah.
So cool.
You're singing at the Freedom Expo, right?
I am not singing at the
sorry.
Expo.
I'm sorry about that. Oh, okay. I'm still trying to get her.
But just if I could just step in. So the reason why art is so awesome as far as therapeutic wise is that it engages the right side of the brain.
Yes.
And so the right side of the brain is also where visual memories are stored. Yep. So that's why a lot of people think that art therapy is really helpful in the process because it helps uncover the repressed and unconscious images.
Yeah.
The connection between the two.
I love that.
Very, very
the
nice.
right and left side of the brain.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Well, I've just started my doctorate in psychology. I think I mentioned that too. And I did explore art therapy, but I started that at the beginning of January. And I got to tell you, it has been the hardest thing to study because as I'm going through and learning about some of these things, I'm going, that's why I do that. That's what Regina does. This is, So for you personally, as you've gone through your own journey, I'm sure that there's been a lot of healing as you've learned more about art therapy and then, your own past, right?
Definitely. And I've realized how powerful art can be just looking back at my old artwork and then my current artwork and paying attention to both the positive and the negative and how art can be used in both forms.
Interesting. Yeah. So we're going to come back. We want to hear from Regina, and thank you so much, Serena.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. So we're going to come back. We're going to hear from Regina Evans, and she's got some exciting stuff to tell us, and also possibly a special piece. Yeah. She's nodding her head. Yes.
We'll be back with more Abolition Radio right after these messages.
This is Pastor Gary from Faith Fellowship in San Leandro. We are so excited about the launch of Abolition Radio every Saturday. And we have seen Love Never Fails under Vanessa Scott grow right here in San Leandro out of our church at Faith Fellowship. And now her ministry, God gave her a passion to get young people out of the sex trafficking and sex slave industry. And she has been doing a phenomenal job. Not only is it locally, but now it's going globally. In fact, I prophesied to her that God was going to use her to go nationwide, and that's exactly what's been happening. She is a woman with a vision, with a direction, and a passion to see these young people come out of this kind of arena. And to God be the glory. Join with her every Saturday on Abolition Radio to hear what she has to say and then become a part of what she's doing. AbolitionRadio.org. Love never fails.
Welcome back to Abolition Radio, where you are invited to join the fight against human trafficking.
And welcome back with Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. So we're back in the studio with Regina Evans, and Regina,
hello,
is awesome. Again, this is our theme word. I can't help it. It's just so true. Regina, I had the opportunity to meet Regina. What has it been, about 2 years now?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it was at a time when she was going full board and delivering her monologue, her play, 52 Letters. And it is an amazing piece. If you haven't had the opportunity to see it live, I don't know if she's doing any. Are you doing some shows?
You're missing a treat.
Yeah, well, I'm doing something at the Freedom Expo, a bit of it, aren't I? Right. And then March 10th at UC Berkeley.
Okay.
And I have like little bits here and there that I'm doing, and then I'm doing it at the Freedom Summit.
Awesome.
And
on May 9th.
May 9th.
In Santa Clara. Yeah. Levi Stadium.
And then then I'm trying to figure out which way to go to New York, because I have 3 different opportunities to take the play to New York, so I'm trying to figure out which way. And then I'm also doing it down in San Jose as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where are you doing that?
At Evergreen
Valley College.
College.
Yeah. So we're just
Evergreen
trying
College.
to set up the date for that.
Okay.
And then another college, which I don't know.
Okay.
Well, we'll let you.
we'll let the audience
there's
know.
a lot of different ways. Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be on our events calendar, on our Love Never Fails events calendar, and we'll definitely put it in the newsletter and make sure you're aware of you have an opportunity to come and experience this for yourself. It's extremely powerful, and again, a very great way to raise awareness, and also to come in contact with your own personal mission statement. I think, again, in the fight against human trafficking, by hearing more about the realities. So. Also, Regina, there's so much to you. I mean, there's just so much going on here.
Yep.
So she's opened a store in Oakland. I want her to talk about that, and I also would love for you to talk about the how you express the artistic expression in fashion. I think that the way that you can sew and you put garments together and that whole piece. Just tell us some more about everything you're doing.
Okay, so I have a vintage clothing store, which I recreated because I had a vintage clothing shop in Australia, which is a whole nother story I won't get into. But so I recreated a vintage clothing shop here that is partnered with Love Never Fails. And so what I do there is basically try to give people a breathing space, a healing space, but also to teach them entrepreneurial skills.
Yes.
So that's basically what I do there. And when I first started doing vintage, I had no idea. I just knew it was supposed to be vintage. Okay. So, but as I was taking the journey into the store, what I learned was this one day is that Rapha, Jehovah Rapha means to stitch. It means is healer. But it means to stitch, to mend. And so the Lord began to teach me how to sew in my store. So I began to take apart garments and I began to put them back together. That's how I learned how to hand sew. But when you're stitching by hand, it's a very deliberate, a very beautiful and intentional process. And that's what the Lord does with us. It's intentional and it's beautiful, and there's care and there's love and there's compassion and there's making sure each stitch is done with, with mercy and faith. Like I pray as I put together garments. So what I do in the store now is the same thing. I take clothes apart and I began to put them back together again. And I put them on my door, actually, which is interesting because people stop by and they were like, "What are you doing?" I have sold garments as I'm putting pieces together on my door. And
that
so I began to talk to people. And so there's a beauty in that. And the second thing about vintage is, if you think about it, some of those clothes were made during African American slavery.
Yeah.
So here you have clothes that were made back here coming forth and being sold so that for the healing of the new slave. So it's a picture of recompense and a circle, which is very deep. Like if you think about the whole thing, I was like, wow, it just kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, no, I mean that is deep. And I remember you telling me about that, and the first time it just jumped out at me as it's so perfect. It's so perfect for us and for you, and it's just.
And for anyone who comes in.
For anyone who comes in.
Because the exact thing you just said about the stitching and the mending and the healing, that is what anyone who walks through those doors, any through the course of any day, that's what they're going to receive.
Right. And people come in and they're like, whoa, this feels like, they say, I hear magic a lot. I hear the word home a lot. I hear the word comfort, and I can feel my grandmother, see my grandmother in that bag over there, and it's a very comforting space for people.
Yeah.
So just for the community.
Yeah.
So it's beginning to shift.
Yes.
The community in that area. It's amazing. It's extraordinary, actually. It's only been 4 months now.
4 months.
Yeah.
And did we mention? I don't think we mentioned it's Regina's store.
It's Regina's store.
Regina's store.
And it's at 352 17th Street.
Get that address.
Between Franklin and Webster. Come and visit.
Yes.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful. It's a beautiful space.
Yeah. And one of the components that Regina and I have, kind of worked on is the fact that this is also a safe place for our graduates from our Life Launch program, which is our workforce development program, to do some internships and to, learn about sales or inventory or budgeting, or even, the simple, like Regina and I were talking a couple weeks ago about, what's the process that's required to be hired? Right. What kind of identification do you need? What, and these are things that maybe, people take for granted. Like, of course, all of, you need to have all these things. But when you have been removed from, common society for years, you've got to be, shown how to do all of that stuff. Right. And so this is a safe place.
It's a safe space
for our thriving survivors to start the life they were intended to have. What else?
Well, I have another scripture that that the Lord gave me a while ago, but as I was building the store, because I built it with my hands and through prayer, and then the community came along, and just so many people came and were a part of it. But the scripture was never far from me. It's out of Isaiah 54. It's a suffering city. You have been beaten by storms. You have not been comforted. I will rebuild you with turquoise stones. I will rebuild your foundations with sapphires. I will line the top of your city wall with rubies. I will make your gates out of gleaming jewels, and I will make all of your walls out of precious stones. Now, that is not a God of creativity. That is complete creativity.
Yes.
And so as a creativity flows within each of us, like I always encourage people to figure out what their giftings are, and the Lord just flows through that so strongly that it's healing. We all have like a God footprint, or a thumbprint, or however you want to phrase it, but it's all creative.
Right.
He is the creator, so is what rests within us.
Absolutely.
I love how you use creation, the arts, even in the store.
The store.
Yeah, with your special events.
Yes.
Your speakeasy, where I did come and sing at
Oh,
the
you did
speakeasy.
Oh.
We have a theater night. We have a theater night coming up.
Oh, yeah.
We have showcases from a young singer coming up. So we have lots of creativity going on.
Yeah, and I think during some of the riots that were going on, the protests that were going on in Oakland, you opened up your shop for the youth to be able to have some open dialogue.
I did.
Talk about it.
Yeah, the elders were there, and they just came and sat and talked, and the elders loved on them, and it was amazing.
Okay, well, so we're going to go to break here in just a second. I did want to mention just something that I observed, and it's really beautiful. I wish you could see it. I guess it's the dancer in me, but the way Regina holds her hands even, just the slight movement of the hand, I feel like a comfort inside my body as she's moving her hand. And so I just, again, art is so, and movement and dance, it's just, for me, it's so powerful.
We'll be back with more Abolition Radio right after these messages from our sponsors.
Hi, this is Vanessa Scott with Abolition Radio, where every week we invite you to join the fight to bring an end to human trafficking. Abolition Radio is the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails, our nonprofit, which is dedicated to the rehabilitation, education, and protection of youth involved or at risk of becoming involved in domestic sex trafficking. Our goal with Abolition Radio is to eradicate human trafficking in all forms, sex trafficking and labor trafficking locally and globally. We are excited to bring this program to KFAX as we will share stories of hope and opportunities to mobilize the body of Christ and turn this audience into an army of gospel activists who will speak up for justice and act on behalf of those who are trapped or recovering from slavery. Find us on Facebook at Abolition Radio or on the web at abolitionradio.org and join me each Saturday at 3 p.m. for an exciting episode of Abolition Radio right here on AM 1100 KFAX.
Welcome back to Abolition Radio, where you are invited to join the fight against human trafficking.
And we're back with another session of Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. So we're going to take care of some housekeeping, just making sure that you're aware of some of the things that are coming up. First of all, tomorrow, I think we've been sharing this with you the last couple of weeks. Tomorrow we are going to have a Love Don't Hurt education training at Cole and Meth in Palo Alto, and it will be a time for you to become a facilitator. If you're interested in facilitating some of the classrooms or just gain some awareness about general education. So what are the times
about
again?
The space. 11:30 in the morning to 8:30. We're doing it all in one day. Mm-hmm. And lunch and dinner will be included.
Beautiful. And is there a cost to that?
There is a cost. They need to, first of all, register. Mm-hmm. So go to our website.
Yep.
And express interest, and I will send them the information.
Okay. Great. And then the other thing I want to remind you of is this is the last week of Change for Change. And again, that is our Youth Commission Against Trafficking. It is their charter in the fight against trafficking. And they're asking for you to, remember, release the change in your purse, pocket,
yep,
and put it in the jar.
Yes.
And be part of the change you want to see.
So, and there will be an opportunity to do that.
Also, we've got some exciting news. I have recently been invited to present general session presenter at the Freedom Summit.
Yes.
On May 9th. Yeah.
At Levi Stadium.
Yeah. So Regina and I will be there together. Regina will be sharing a portion of her 52 letters, and I'm super excited.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited.
We're all excited for you both.
Yes. So, I believe that they're going to be implementing the website for registrations and things like that in the coming weeks. So look out for that. Yes. And that's Bay Area Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition.
Yes.
And you can probably get the registration from their website, I would imagine. Yeah.
But mark your calendars now for May 9th.
May 9th.
May 9th.
And so that's housekeeping, but I wanted to end our show today with a beautiful piece. It's Regina's signature piece, and if you don't understand human trafficking right now after listening to us for the first 3-4 shows here, this pretty much encapsulates how we feel about the one. And so, Regina, if you could please share your beautiful piece, we appreciate it.
Okay. So this piece is called I Am Somebody's Baby, I'm Somebody's Child, and it sits at the middle of my play 52 Letters, and is a call to arms. Mm-hmm. I am somebody's baby, I'm somebody's child, and it's past time for you to lay your life upon the ark of justice, for your notes of mercy to float forth from your throat on my behalf. I am somebody's baby, I'm somebody's child. And I want you to speak to the dead places where care and compassion are supposed to reside, and breathe life into their bones and raise up a mighty army of love for me. I'm somebody's baby, I'm somebody's child. Can you not see that I'm drowning in the brutalizing place of fear? Do your ears not perceive the tears that drip from my heart, yearning to be released from the clutches of hell that have become my prison? Can you not smell the loss of hope that pervades my world from being shoved into a corner of specialized terror? Let me tell you something. You listen. I am somebody's baby, I'm somebody's child, and I want you to look me in my eyes and speak to me that I am not worthy to have the warmth of your being wrap itself across my lonely soul. Tell me that I am not lovely enough for you to risk your life for me. I'm somebody's baby. I'm somebody's child. And it's cold out here, standing in fear, trembling in unbelief, having to feel and to smell filth. Don't I have a right to live, to life? I'm somebody's baby. I'm somebody's child. Do you not think about what my days look like? What the hours or the seconds or the minutes bring, that I don't truly know what a blue sky looks like because the lenses of my eyes have been painted over with the sweat of a multitude who breathe death into my spirit, that I can't remember how the beautiful touch of love should resonate through my being or how it should kiss my brow. Because my soul has been cracked into tiny shards of brittle brokenness, and every day I am torn by an endless stream of hate, and it takes me over. So listen, won't you hear my cry today? And won't you hug the rivers that leak from my eyes and taste my tears? Will you? I'm somebody's baby. I'm somebody's child, and I'm yours to love. Yours. Thank you.
Wow. Yeah. Well, as we come to a close, thank you for listening to Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. And if you don't hear it from anybody else, we want to always make sure to end our show with saying to you that are listening that you are loved.
Thanks for joining us this week on Abolition Radio. We trust that you've been inspired by these stories of hope and survival, and that you'll accept our challenge to get involved by contacting us at abolitionradio.org, by liking and sharing our page on Facebook, Facebook/Abolition Radio, or by making a contribution directly to Love Never Fails. Abolition Radio is the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails, which is a donor-supported, nonprofit ministry that Vanessa founded as a way of directly impacting the lives of young people who are trapped in or at risk of becoming involved in sex trafficking. This broadcast needs your involvement and support. To find out more, simply go to abolitionradio.org and click on Love Never Fails. Today's program was brought to you in part by Case Industries and with major support from the staff and membership and donors at Faith Fellowship Church. Our theme song, Courage to Believe, is by Justin McRoberts. Hear more about his passion for justice and art at justinmcroberts.com. Our audio engineer is Jarrell Martin, and this is Dave Naderhood. On behalf of Vanessa, Benita, and the whole team at Love Never Fails, thanks for listening, and thanks even more for taking action to help set captives free.
You're in the neighborhoods we live in. You're in the ones we're passing by. You're in the ones we call our neighbors, and the ones who still escape our eyes.